Hey guys, my name is Chris from Krisproductions, and today I'm bringing you guys week 2 of building the Jedi Temple in LEGO. So this week's video is going to be pretty quick because I've actually run into a huge problem. First off, thanks to everybody who commented in the first week's video, because that went incredibly well and you guys gave me so many suggestions for, like, amazing suggestions for what to build, and I went and compiled that on a list, and I've been trying to incorporate it into the design of the build for the overall massive temple here. And you guys actually gave me so many good ideas that I've been having a hard time putting them into a design that works for the overall temple. I just had a few things to worry about. Some is what rooms are going to take what pieces is kind of something that I have to consider, as well as the layout, so like you don't have Barriss off these quarters where Anakin and her dueling backing onto like the Jedi Council chambers kind of thing. So I have to make it make sense, as well as I have to make it all fit in the space. And on top of that, there's just so many fantastic ideas that you guys gave me that I had never even thought of. So today I'm going to have some footage from my old time-lapse that I had of beginning the Jedi Temple, and you're going to see how I built this section and the rest that was the beginning. About a year and a half ago, I was going to start building the Jedi Temple, and what actually happened was school happened, as I talked about last week, and really I could start things and then I just wouldn't be able to continuously work on them, and that's why I never did actually upload it or get started on this Jedi Temple series earlier. So if you're wondering where that's from and why I look so much different, it's because it's from about a year and a half ago. So I'll start rolling that now, and as you guys can see, I'm just laying out the base plates to begin with, and then I just start the initial foundation for the MOC. As you can see, I'm using colors. And our word of the week this week is filler brick, because that is what I'm starting with. You'll notice there's a lot of colors in behind, like white, magenta, orange, lavender, black brick, as well as tan plate and brown plate. And now, tan and brown, you probably think those are colors I could probably see inside the Jedi Temple, but I actually just had bins that were overflowing, so I decided I may as well use them. And as well, I used some giant dark gray quarter cylinders, and I'm just using some basic gray slopes for this beginning part of the temple. Now this is just the foundation. It's the bottom frame of the temple, and you'll see it in my droid army video, and it's been around for a little while, so it's actually gotten pretty dusty in the meantime, but it's very sturdy. So I was actually able to easily carry the entire what I had built there, and that's why you don't see it in front of me here now. So just looking at this chunk here, you'll notice a few things, that these panels are currently temporarily removable. These are something that I was going to have you guys all vote on, which design you'd like, but I'm going to save that for later in the series, because I feel like you can't really get a great idea of how they're going to look with the overall temple until the overall temple is built. So for the meantime, I'm going to use these as filler ones. And then it'll be easy to change up the design later on if I need to, or if we decide that we like these ones, then we can just go with that too. You'll notice that this is very, very sturdy. I can kind of whip it around, and the only thing that will fly out are these. One of them is held in by cheese slopes in the bottom, so it's not flying out, but these other ones will. As you can see, there's filler on the inside, and I'm using these giant light gray 6x6 tiles because they're very convenient to place down all around the outside, and I think they're just a great use of that piece. Now I had a ton of these, but I actually used almost all of them just doing the outside layer all the way around. So that's one thing, and as well I used all of these slope pieces all the way around, and I used every single one of them that I owned. So obviously that's not going to be a piece that's used in the actual temple structure. Now you're probably wondering, well, what are you going to do? And that's what I'm going to try and explain to you next week, or maybe the week after that, just because it's a really intense concept that takes a technique called snot, where essentially you have your pieces and you flip them this way, so that way it's smooth and flat. So the idea is that I'm actually kind of placing them in like this, and then add a bit of a slant actually to get the corner to work. So it's gonna be an insane technique, and I really hope that it works. But as well, it means that I just need to build these foundations super strong, and I think I did a very good job of that. So as you guys can see here, it is very sturdy. It's got these giant quarter cylinder pieces, and they are just great foundations for this temple. Now I might want to use them later, but we will kind of see if that ends up happening. I do have I've only probably used about half of these that I have, and I've used a ridiculous amount. I think that means I've used around 500-ish or something like that. So I've used quite a bit, but I also have them in dark red and in light gray. So you'll see those later in like pillars in the temple and everything. But so yeah, so filler parts are just something that I really had to consider in this beginning thing, because it means that I can't really use those parts later on in the temple. Now, obviously, you're probably going, well, Chris, do you have a budget for this build? And the answer to that is actually no. I don't really plan on spending a whole bunch on this, which adds a bit more to the challenge. As we get later on, that'll probably change. But yeah, I'm trying to go no budget for it, so that's definitely a challenge. I don't have hundreds to spend on it or anything. As we get into it later, if it's later in the summer, I'm obviously going to have a few dollars to put into it, and when I go to conventions, like, if I'm still building it around that time, which it would be nice to be close to finished, it'd be nice to pick up some parts maybe at Brick World Chicago or Brick Fair Virginia. Not that I'm going to Brick World Chicago, but they're potential rumors, but definitely Brick Fair Virginia. So, yeah, so it's just lots to consider even as I just do this initial foundation for the build. So that's kind of crazy, the amount of stuff that I've had to consider, and it'll be really interesting going forward to see what pieces I use, because it is such a big project that I'm actually afraid to use some pieces, because I know that they're going to run out real fast. In the next week here, I'll start on the interior layout, because I'll have that kind of solidified and designed. And that will be pretty crazy, I think. And you'll see me go through all this struggle and placing, you know, as I begin to place stuff, maybe I'll put some stuff down and then pull it back up after I look at it. But you'll see me kind of going through that in next week's video in the time-lapse, and as well on Instagram, Facebook, and Twitter. I've been posting a few update photos on things, and now you'll really get to see the update photos on things as I'm actually really getting into the build here and dealing with the giant layout and design aspects. So that's gonna be crazy. I hope you guys have enjoyed this episode. It's been a lot of fun, and I just gotta thank you guys again for all the positive feedback that I got on the first episode. Like, there was a crazy amount of likes and comments on there, and that like just blew my mind, especially for someone who just came back from being a dead YouTuber. So I think that's just really cool, and I thank all of you guys so much, and I really hope that I can pay that back and bring you guys a sweet building series here and an amazing final product. So anyways, stay tuned for next week as I attempt to build this giant Jedi Temple. See you guys next week.